One man once controlled 90% of all the oil in America. When the government destroyed his empire, he got richer. This is the story of John D. Rockefeller, the most hated man in American history, and the first confirmed billionaire the world has ever seen. July 8, 1839, Richford, New York. A boy was born into nothing. His mother, Eliza, was a devout Baptist, strict, honest. She believed in God, hard work, and doing right. His father believed in none of those things. William Avery Rockefeller, known to locals as Devil Bill. He was not a father. He was a ghost. A con man who sold colored water as cancer cures to the dying, who posed as a deaf-mute beggar to eavesdrop on farmers, then used their secrets to rob them blind. He didn't just want their money. He wanted to watch them lose everything. One afternoon, he placed young John on a high chair. "Jump, I'll catch you." The boy jumped. The father stepped back. Young John crashed hard to the floor. Devil Bill looked down and said, "Never trust anyone completely, not even me." That was John's entire education. Trust is weakness. The world is a battlefield. If you are not the predator, you are the prey. By 1849, Devil Bill's crimes caught up with him. Accused of assault, exposed as a fraud. He fled to Canada, changed his name, married a second woman while still married to Eliza, and disappeared forever. John was 10 years old. He never once forgot. At 16, John became the man of the house. He enrolled in a 3-month bookkeeping course, landed a job as an assistant bookkeeper, earned exactly 50 cents a day. He recorded every single penny in a small red notebook. He called Ledger A, every cent in, every cent out. Nothing escaped the page. By age 20, he had saved $800 through pure discipline. Not luck, not inheritance. But $800 wasn't enough. He needed capital, which meant doing the one thing that probably destroyed him inside. He went to his father. Devil Bill lent him $1,000 at 10% interest, with a warning he might demand it back at any moment, just to keep you sharp. John took the money without a word, formed a partnership with a man named Maurice Clark, started trading produce, beans, pork, grain, safe, steady, boring. Then 1859 happened, Pennsylvania. A man struck oil. Within weeks, the entire country lost its mind. Cleveland sat at the center of refining, and John could see exactly what everyone else was missing. Clark didn't want to touch it. Oil is chaos, it's a gamble. People will always need to eat. John looked at him and said one thing.
People will always need to see in the dark.
Against Clark's objections, they invested. Brought in chemist Samuel Andrews, built a refinery. And immediately, the partnership began to crack. Rockefeller wanted to borrow aggressively, expand before anyone else could. Clark was terrified of debt. By 1865, they could no longer agree. So they made one decision. The refinery would go to whoever bid highest at a private auction. The bidding opened at $2,000. It climbed fast. $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Clark felt certain. No way the 25-year-old has the stomach. No way he has the money. At $50,000, Clark stopped. "John, walk away. It's over." The room went dead silent. Rockefeller said, $72,500. Clark's face drained. He stared for a long moment. Then he threw his hands up. "The business is yours." Rockefeller shook his hand, walked outside, and said quietly to himself, "That was the day that determined my career." He was 25. He now owned the largest refinery in Cleveland. He didn't celebrate. He looked at the dozens of small, filthy, inefficient refineries, all competing for the same scraps. He saw chaos, and Rockefeller hated chaos. January 10th, 1870. He incorporated the Standard Oil Company of Ohio. Not just a business, a machine built to swallow the entire industry. But to do that, he needed the railroads. Rail companies were in a death spiral, cutting rates to steal volume from each other. Rockefeller walked into the offices of the railroad kings and made them a simple offer. I will guarantee you 60 carloads of oil every single day, rain or shine. They stared. That was more volume than the entire valley combined. And in exchange, he said, I want a secret deal. What followed became known as the South Improvement Company. It had three weapons. First, the rebate. Rockefeller received a massive secret discount on every barrel he shipped. His competitors paid full price. Second, the spy network. The railroads gave him detailed intelligence on every rival. Where they shipped, who they sold to, at what price. Third, the kill shot, the drawback. Every time a competitor shipped oil, the railroad took a cut of their payment and handed it directly to Rockefeller. He wasn't just competing, he was being paid every time a rival did business. He would invite competitors to his office at 26 Broadway. 6th floor. Calm. Quiet, polite as a deacon. One simple message. I am being paid for every barrel you ship. If you stay in business, you will go bankrupt. Sell to Standard Oil now or be destroyed. Your choice. Most of them sold. Between February and March 1872, in a single 48-hour window, he absorbed 6 refineries in one day. In under 3 months, 22 of the 26 refineries in Cleveland had surrendered. The press called it the Cleveland Massacre. When word leaked, the oil regions exploded, burned Rockefeller in effigy, marched with torches. The Pennsylvania legislature shut down the South Improvement Company within months. The public cheered. They believed they had won. They were wrong. By the time they killed the deal, he already owned Cleveland. He invented something that would become the blueprint for every monopoly in history: total vertical integration. He bought the forests to make his own barrels, purchased the warehouses, acquired the chemical plants that produced the acid required for refining, built his own pipelines across the country. If a competitor refused to sell, he cut off their oxygen. They couldn't source barrels, couldn't move product, couldn't survive. By 1879, he controlled 90% of American oil. By the early 1880s, his net worth exceeded $900 million, roughly 1.5% of the entire American economy in one man's hands. But success was eating him alive. His hair fell out in clumps. Eyebrows, eyelashes, everything. He became a gaunt, hairless figure, forced to wear rotating wigs just to appear normal. His nerves destroyed his digestion. He survived on crackers and milk. The machine was still running perfectly. The man inside it was breaking apart. A journalist named Ida Tarbell picked up a pen. Her father had been an independent oil man in Pennsylvania. She had watched Standard Oil crush his business and his spirit firsthand. For 2 years, she worked like a detective, tracked down former employees, dug through railroad archives, mapped the rebates, the drawbacks, and the entire spy network in full detail. Then she published The History of the Standard Oil Company. It became the most dangerous book in America. It gave the public a face to put on their rage, and it handed President Theodore Roosevelt exactly the ammunition he needed. Roosevelt launched a full federal antitrust investigation. May 15, 1911. The Supreme Court ruled. Standard Oil was an illegal monopoly. Break it into 34 separate companies. The world believed Rockefeller had finally lost. He hadn't. When Standard Oil was shattered, Rockefeller still owned his full shares in all 34 new companies, free from legal shackles, free from political scrutiny. As the automobile age exploded, demand for gasoline skyrocketed. Every one of those 34 companies surged in value simultaneously. By 1916, Front pages across the country confirmed it. John D. Rockefeller was worth $1 billion, the world's first confirmed billionaire. At a time when the average American earned $800 a year, he had outlasted his father, his competitors, and the United States government itself. He lived to 97. In his final decades, he gave away over $500 million, founded the University of Chicago, the Rockefeller Foundation, funded research that eradicated hookworm and yellow fever across entire continents. Was it guilt? Genuine redemption? Or the final greatest play of a man who always understood that history is written by whoever controls the narrative? We will never know for certain. What we do know is this: a boy who was dropped to the floor by his own father, who recorded every penny in a red notebook, who said yes when the world saw only chaos. That boy became the most powerful economic force in human history. ExxonMobil, Chevron, all fragments of the empire they seized was destroyed. The Rockefeller name outlived everything they tried to take from him. Even time itself could not stop the machine.